The sun dipped low over the city, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. Leo sat on his usual bench in the park, the one with a clear view of the old oak tree. He came here every evening, a ritual born from a memory he could not let go of. 5 years ago, under that very oak, he had met her. Her name was Alara. Leo was a photographer, capturing fragments of time, but the most important moment of his life had been one he never caught on film. It was a Tuesday, and a sudden spring shower had sent everyone scattering. He had been trying to protect his camera under his jacket when he saw her, sitting calmly on this bench, her face turned up to the rain, a small, serene smile on her lips. She looked like a painting come to life. He had joined her, wordlessly sharing the shelter of the large oak. They talked for hours as the rain pattered around them, about everything and nothing. He learned she was a cellist, her music as deep and resonant as her eyes. They met at that bench every day for a month. A perfect, fleeting chapter. Then, as suddenly as the rain that brought them together, she was gone. A family emergency overseas, she said. A promise to write, she said, but the letters never came. Life moved on, but Leo did not. He held on to the hope that she would return to their bench. So he waited, every evening, his heart a fragile thing wrapped in the fading memory of her smile. One chilly autumn evening, as the leaves swirled in amber eddies, he saw a figure standing by the oak tree. His breath caught. It was her, but different. The years had added a gentle weight to her frame, lines of worry around her eyes that had not been there before. She was staring at the tree, her fingers lightly tracing the bark. Leo stood, his legs unsteady. Alara turned, and her eyes widened. For a long moment, they simply looked at each other, the silence heavy with 5 years of absence. "You came back," he finally said, his voice barely a whisper. "I had to," she replied, her voice still carrying the melodic quality he remembered, but now tinged with a profound sadness. "I am sorry, Leo. I am so sorry I never wrote." He wanted to be angry, to demand explanations, but the sight of her, so real and so sad, dissolved all his defenses. "What happened?" She looked down, twisting the strap of her bag. "My mother fell ill. It was very serious. I went to care for her. It was all-consuming. Every day was a battle. I thought of you often, but I was in a dark place. I felt I had nothing beautiful left to offer, not even a letter. I thought you would have forgotten me, moved on to someone whole." Leo took a step closer. "I never moved from this spot, Alara. Not really." Tears welled in her eyes. "After she passed, I was lost. The music was gone. It took me years to find my way back to myself. And when I did, the first thing I remembered was the sound of the rain and your voice. I had to know if this place was still here, if you were." He reached out slowly and took her hand. It was cold. He warmed it between his own. "The bench is still here. I am still here." They sat down together, just as they had that first day. She told him of the long, quiet years of caregiving, of grief, of the silence that had filled her world. He told her of his waiting, of the photographs he took, trying to capture the light she had left behind. He did not say he had been waiting for her. He did not need to. It was in every word he did not say. As dusk deepened into night, Alara looked at him, her eyes glistening. "I do not have my music anymore, Leo. I am just a shadow of who I was." Leo shook his head, his own eyes bright. "You are not a shadow. You are the person who came back. You are a story of strength, not of loss. And if your music is quiet, we will listen for it together." He stood and offered his hand. "Come with me." He led her not far from the park, to his small studio apartment. The walls were covered in his photographs, landscapes and cityscapes, but in the center of the main wall was a single framed picture. It was a detailed pencil sketch, not a photo. It was of a woman's face turned up to the rain, a perfect likeness of Alara from memory. He had drawn it the day after she left, trying to hold on to her. "You kept me," she breathed, touching the glass over the drawing. "I never let you go," he said softly. From a corner, he brought out a dust-covered case. He opened it to reveal an old but well-cared-for cello. I found it at a shop years ago, he said, his voice thick with emotion. I hoped I could one day hear you play again. Ilara stared at the instrument, then at Leo, then back at the cello. Slowly, she took the bow. Her hands were stiff at first, uncertain. She drew the bow across the strings. The note was shaky, hesitant. She tried again and again, her eyes closed. And then a melody emerged. It was simple, slow, a little broken, but it was music. It was her voice, returning after a long silence. Leo listened, tears streaming freely down his face. It was the most beautiful sound he had ever heard. Not because it was perfect, but because it was a return. It was a heart, bruised and battered, choosing to beat again. She played until the early hours, the music filling the small space, weaving around the photographs and the sketch on the wall. When she finally stopped, it was no longer an absence, but a comfortable, shared quiet. I cannot promise I am fixed, she said, looking at him with raw honesty. I do not need you to be fixed, he answered, taking both her hands. I just need you to be here. We can be broken together. We can be quiet together. We can learn the music again, together. They sat on the floor, leaning against the wall beneath the sketch, hands intertwined. The love story was not one of a perfect beginning or a fairy tale reunion. It was a story of waiting and returning. It was about a love that was not loud or dramatic, but patient and steadfast. It was about two people who found each other again, not in spite of their scars, but with them. It was about a bench, a tree, and the quiet, resilient hope that some threads, though stretched thin across years and sorrow, never truly break. They simply wait to be woven back together, stronger at the mended places. And in that small studio, as the first light of dawn touched the window, a new chapter began, not as a continuation of the old, but as something deeper, forged in waiting and watered by tears, finally beginning to bloom.